Good morning. This is Norma Cowie here with Norma Talks. I had some delay getting ready, and I just hope it's going to work with fingers crossed, as I did my July reading quite early this morning, because sometimes I have found there's a delay in the pictures coming and they just arrive. One last shot before I went to record this. And many of you probably have heard or read or some other people reading the astrologers in particular, what they have to say. I've looked at the symbology. I haven't read it at this point, and I tell you, it looks like a mishmash. So it'll be interesting to go through it. I just want to say a couple of things before I get into that. Last night, I went to hear some Australian group who's traveling presenting ABBA songs. So I haven't heard some ABBA songs for a long, long time, but they were really, really good. They definitely had the crowd going. So if you see that this group is coming to town and you're a fan of ABBA music, then I recommend that you go and watch them. They did a really good job. It was full band, one lady's backup singer, but the band members, most of them, not all of them, but most of them sang as well with that. So background. And I was just thinking how much that fills out just by rather than a solitary voice. Interestingly, many years ago, I saw ABBA perform in Vancouver, and it was a great show then. And the much more intimate little theater, but it was really, really great to see. And so I came home, and several of my TV shows were on, but I didn't have time to watch those, and I'll catch those up later today for sure. Now, I'm going to see if I can get this screen up. I just hope it's we can make it the right one. This is the one here. There we go. This was my reading for July. Now, as my friend said, how come you didn't do this last Wednesday? To be honest, I just wasn't thinking July last Wednesday. But here we are already at the 6th, nearly a week's gone by. I don't know where my head was at. So I have to become more cognizant of time and the end. But let's take a look at the symbology. I'm kind of chuckling because it's like some friends had told me, some other astrologers and readers, of what they had said of the month of July. And I said, oh, well, I'm just going to wait and see what I get. Well, this is what I got, up and down like a little yo-yo. Now, we know we're in the 6th. So these first two symbols, which represents, to me, confusion, uncertainty, looking back in the past, being unsure of what exactly is happening, all of this is that sort of already be gone. And that's what a lot of people were upset, I know, from what I heard. Didn't really read anything or look at anything, but then. So if we want to start about where we are now, we've got the 3 of Wands here. That shows a projection ahead, looking out. Now, there's no end in sight with this one. This is a beginning. This is a new beginning, looking in a new and different way. And so there are some ideas of how things are going to be. But if we look further, so if we're going towards the end of this week, and so we're going to be, I would say up to the 10th, what we're looking at is everything closes down. Now, if I remember rightly, and my memory sometimes is not as accurate as I would like anymore, but there's a full moon around the middle of the month. A lot of people saying, watch for that, watching for what's going to happen. What we're seeing here in this, the 4 of Pentacles and the 5 of Pentacles together, is that there's a closing down or a closing off, which leads to people not either being in touch or not sure of what's happening, feeling that things are not working. Now, remember this. Right now, when I do this for North America, we have groups that are working in, you might say, in different directions. And so there's a lot of underground fighting. There's a lot of one group feeling that they've got supremacy, another group feeling they have to work harder to kind of dispel what is going on or what's happening. And I really think this is represented in these 2 particular symbols here. I really think the 4 and the 5 really show that, the holding on, and then the feeling like dejected. So sorry, my light on my camera kind of lit that up there. Had really just kind of out in the cold. But when we take a look after that, and I want to jump quite a bit here, I really think this particular period is going to last several days. But if we go into the late teens, like maybe 18, 19, what we have here with the Eight of Wands showing there's things happening of which we're not aware. And everything is moving in a direction that we're not aware. And what will happen is when that what we're not aware of hits, there's going to be a lot of sadness, a disappointment, a feeling like, oh my goodness, what is happening and where it's going. And so that whole 20s to up to probably about 28, there is this sense of unease, a really uncertainty of what's happening, what's going on, the direction of where everything is. And consequently, what we see here is a sense of defense, what we call it the defense attitude of the King of Swords, to me is very determined and not necessarily particularly liking what exactly is happening. But as we move towards the end of July, I'm just had this thought, by the way, my birthday's in the middle of all this. As we move to the end of July, it's like things become easier, more distribution of wealth, distribution of, who knows, maybe more fuel or whatever. And what my eye really goes to is the balance of the scales. Things begin to balance out. So even though we're already 6 days into July, what I'm just going to say is basically hold your own balance, hold your own center, because what you may hear from the outside, what you may hear that's going on, I think you're going to find that basically is that a lot of it doesn't make sense. It's all sorts of awareness and uncertainty, and it's really, really, what would you call it? Unsettling. So anyway, that's what I have gotten. So I'm going to stop that share because and we're going to go back to sort of normal picture. Now, I kind of like doing these because if I look back over the months, I kind of get a sense of the direction that we've gone. And we've had some very uplifting months, but this one isn't. This is like a hodgepodge. This looks good. This doesn't look good. This is okay. Then this isn't okay. But I do like the last symbol, and I'll just hold it up this way. The Six of Pentacles. That's at the end of July as we head on into August. Now, the distribution of monies, resources, information, it seems to be more equally distributed. And so that's going to help in lots of ways, because we don't like feeling when we don't know. We like to have information, but, you know, we can't always get the information everywhere at the same time because there's different groups. We've got some people reporting one way and many people listen to that. And we have another group that are listening in another way and others just listen to that. And in the between, they don't meet. There's no real understanding a lot of that. So I just want to say, hold on to your hat. Hold on and don't get too upset by what you hear. Take it maybe at a value that it is important, and see if it relates. And don't just discount anything that you hear. So, you know, the old saying, sight unseen. Just listen and see how. I have a friend that gathers information on different things, and she said, I like to have 3 sources. If I have 3 sources, different sources, that is, then I know there's some value or there's some element as to what's happening. So lots of fun for the month of July. Now, as I kind of mentioned, it is my birthday month, and I put, without thinking, because I was late. I've been late in the last few days. I wrote up my newsletter yesterday, and right at the top, I put happy birthday for me or something. Anyway, it was and all of a sudden I'm getting lovely, beautiful birthday messages being emailed in, and which I appreciate immensely. But I suddenly realized, I don't think I've ever done that before, but it was kind of like, oh, okay, I've got to write this to be newsletter because I'm way late again. And so, yeah, there's a few little things in there. I've got on the 16th of April, I'm doing mini readings again. So I've got a couple people already registered for that, but mostly they're nice birthday messages, and because I didn't say the day, and that's fine. But it was like, if they're coming in, a couple people say, oh, it's, great to hear from you, etc., etc. Life has been interesting for everybody, I think, in the last while. I was looking forward to hot, warm, very warm summer nights. So I could sit outside in the twilight. Well, it's not really twilight, but that dusk light, and read my book and enjoy the warmth. Well, we're having thunderstorms. And I had a couple of nights where I could do that. The rest of the time, it's like being rain, thunderstorms, nice day, but it's still coolish because the heat isn't back in. Now, cherries are ripening, but they're not really ripe. And I had to smile. I was talking to someone yesterday. Last year, all the cherries got burned because it was too hot. They just didn't do well. This year, they need some heat because it's very wet. And so I'm hoping to have, within another week or two, some really nice cherries to eat, and maybe freeze. That would be nice too. So there's all sorts of things that are happening right now in the weather. And I don't know whatever area you live in, what your weather is like, but for here in the last couple, it's just a little different. And we don't usually, remember in years past when we've had wet summers, but it's not a usual wet summers. Usually it's beautiful and warm. And there were actually people down at the lake, on the beach front at the lake yesterday, we were noticing. Now, let me talk a little bit about what I have been running across in the last while with some of the clients that I've had. And I know I have done this myself. And that is how you think. I know I go on about be aware of what you're thinking and how you're thinking, because thinking is your framework of what you're asking for. And I find every now and again, some people really resistant because they're so locked into their, poor me, my life is this way, that they don't want to hear that part of the reason that their life is this way, because they haven't got something they want, because they don't change what's up here. They don't change how they think. They don't have a trust and a faith in a greater power. They just feel like, poor me, here I am, and this is my life. I think we've all been there at different times, but for the majority of us who have an awareness that there is a power, there is a force. I call it the love force. I call it the universal love force. Some people call it God, Allah, whatever. It doesn't matter what name you call it, as long as there is awareness, there is a power out there that you can touch into, utilize, and work. It's not about being wrong. And when you realize how much you're actually loved, you realize that there's no need to trap yourself in a place through this wonderful mind of ours. When your mind is set onto, poor me, why can't I get what I want? Why is it always like this? Why? How can you be happy? How can you go and create exactly what you're wanting to create when your mind is saying the opposite? When the mind just goes on and on and on. And I on the Monday night treatments, I had this happen with a person that phoned in for a treatment on something. And it was like I could hardly get through the whirling of the mind. And a lot of my clients are like that. Just so mindful of everything, but not really in their feeling, but they feel rotten. They don't feel good. They don't feel happy. And it's because they're here. Sometimes my frustration is I can't get through to that, because it's like a carrot. How do you hold a carrot out? If I can say to someone, I can help relieve that. But the thing is, in relieving it, they have to do some things. They have to do some homework. My clients get homework. They get homework. They get new viewpoints. They get other things to look at. They get energy clearing. All the things that I had to do in order to get myself reasonably capable in my life. I'm not saying always. I wasn't not 100% perfect, believe me. But the awareness of that changed a lot of things. but there has to be a willingness to let go of old frameworks. Let's say you're building a house, and I always think of the thought process as the building blocks. This is what's saying, this is how I want this house to be. This is my plan. What if it's not really working? What if it's messy and it's not quite how you want it? What I find is we blame outside. It's got to be something else, rather than looking at what is the framework here? What is the framework in the middle of the brain? What is the brain saying? Actually, I call it a brain. The brain is an automatic, but your mental processes. More and more lately, I've seen that. Now, I don't know if it's a product because we've been 2 years of lockdown and we don't know what we're doing, and is this person correct or that person correct? I don't know. What I do know is that if you are feeling sorry for yourself, if you're feeling down and out, that nobody cares, that is not true. There is an energy that cares. I care. Others care. But it's up to us as individuals to accept responsibility for our own thinking. We are responsible. We are responsible for what those thoughts go out. Now, you've heard this 100 times if you're into self-growth. Thoughts, excuse me, I have to have a drink of water. I'm croaking on this one. Thoughts go out and create your vibration. The universe responds to bring back to you what that vibration is. Because the universe has no judgment, contrary to what many people say, it has no judgment. It only knows what you're wanting. When you have a thought form going out and you put your emotional energy behind it, it has no judgment whether that's a plus energy or a minus energy. If you're depressed and sad, it doesn't, and it's all, oh, poor me. The universe doesn't know that. It just knows here's a thought and here's energy. Therefore, that is what this person wants. Now, this to me is my basic teaching to all the people who have studied with me over the years. We forget. I forget. I get locked up and caught up in some of my own thinking of, oh, why? And then I have to grab myself because things stop not working. My energy begins to flag, or I don't feel enthusiastic, and all those things. I go, hang on, what's going on? Then I take a look at my thinking. I sit back and I just take a look at the thinking pattern to see, what am I thinking? Now, I have some friends, and thank goodness one was here not too long ago, that when I get really kind of on the rocks, you might say, they come along and sort of say, hey, what are you doing? Get with the program. And then they help get you back on track. And for that, I am appreciative immensely, because when we're locked in our own making of what's going on, gee, throat's having a hard time with this one. That just tells me it touches into me as well as everybody else. But when we get locked into our thinking pattern, we don't recognize it. We only recognize it when the world outside is not creating what exactly we want, or people start saying things to you that you don't want to hear. And that's what happens too often where people come to me. They don't like what I have to say because it doesn't fit their program or their agenda or whatever. I'm saying, hold on a minute. This is, and I like to look at the other sides and things like that. There is always choice. And it doesn't matter how bad it is. It doesn't matter how depressed you are. It doesn't matter how angry you are, because those are the emotions that come out of the thinking pattern. And basically, we need to balance those two together to make them work. But if one is more than the other, and the mental mind likes to be in control because that's what our society appreciates. So it really likes to be the big brother, this is how it is. Trouble is, it is only good as what's being put in it. It's only as good as what you have created and put into it to grow. If you have a garden full of lettuce and you planted lettuce, you will get lettuce. If you have a garden that you planted only turnips, you will get turnips. Now, those are choices. but maybe we need a garden that has some lettuce and some turnips. So we can balance things. And most importantly, to recognize thought creates. When you put emotion with the thought, it creates more effectively, much more. So we want to make sure our thoughts are what we want. We want to make sure that our emotionality has the power behind the thoughts of what we want. Now, I know I think back over the last couple of years when I've been doing this talk, I've often come back to this topic, and I'm back at it not only because of the reading that I saw for the month, but because of my clients are representing it. I'm seeing it, I'm feeling it, I'm knowing it, and I'm knowing that I get resistance. Because assuming responsibility for the self and your connection to the higher power takes a step, but it's an important step. And there are people there that can help you make that step. And sometimes it just means reaching out and realizing it's okay to not know, or it's okay to recognize and acknowledge, I feel really awful, but how do I change that? What I find often people will want me to say it's going to be okay, but it's not going to be okay if they insist on being the same. It's not. It's just going to be more of the same. So do you want to look back 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and you're in the same spot, complaining about the same things, having difficulty making the same decision or any decisions? It's only now. We don't know what our future is going to bring us, especially right now. I mean, there's just so much going on out there. But we do know one thing, that we are loved by a power that wants to support you so that you can handle, deal, cope in a happy way, no matter what is presented. That you will remember who you truly are, not you might say a false image or a created image, but the essence of who you are, so you radiate that essence. Well, I think that's enough for today. Trust you have a great week. I will be back. Where are we? Wednesday. I'll be back on Sunday for a Sunday thought, and I'll be back next Monday night with mental mind treatments. And I want to thank you for the comments and especially the subscriptions and the likes and the comments. I try and really work on getting those answered, and appreciation mostly too, just that you took the time to make a comment. I appreciate that. And so we'll be seeing you. So have a great, great, great week. Thank you. Bye.